When we walked up, we found the chairs like this. It just kind of looked like art. So it was kind of one of those cool moments of quarantine. Here's another moment that kind of expresses what quarantine was like. Hey guys, in the last video I talked about the actual process of creating a book, a photo book with the Sal digital software. But in this video I wanted to talk more of the creative side of why I wanted to do this book. This book really is documenting the first 3 years of my daughter's life. I bought this X100F camera just before she was born because I wanted a camera that I could always have with me. Something that I can grab and always have with me, because I knew if I had a bigger camera, it would just be cumbersome. And so I bought this camera and it's been a lifesaver. It really has been a pleasure to shoot with this camera. So I wanted to put together a book, finally, of a lot of those images that I captured over the years. So the inspiration from this book actually came from this book that I got from Barnes & Noble. It's called Life with Father. It's called Life with Father from the Life series of books. I got this book from Barnes & Noble. It was one of those like discounted tables, and I picked it up. I got this a long time ago. And it just kind of had a bunch of images of famous people to just non-famous people. But it had like just kind of daily life moments of fathers with their kids. And I don't know, something hit me about the pictures in this book. Like, this book is what inspired me to take a lot of the pictures that I did, just to capture moments of life that happens with kids. And a lot of them are snapshots. They're not technically perfect. They're kind of aesthetically just off. Like this one, the horizon line is off, and it's, you know, it really is the moments that's captured, and it really is the sentimental value that comes from these pictures. So this is where the original inspiration came from. So like I said before, all of these images except for one was captured with an iPhone. All the images came from this camera as I had it. I even had it in the delivery room, but let's just kind of start from the beginning. So like I said, I got the camera just before Penny was born. This picture here, we were just kind of waiting for her to go into labor and for Penny to be born. So just kind of a couple moments before that. This was in the delivery room, also waiting. She really didn't want to come out, and finally she was born. So this is the day after she was born, the first morning. We were lucky enough to have a private room. That's a luxury in New York City, is to have your own private room after birth. And I was able to sleep there for a few days with our daughter and my wife. And so this was the first morning. I just kind of took a pano selfie with the iPhone. I tend to do that a lot. I take selfies using the pano mode, and I can talk about that in another video. So like I said, the camera was there from the beginning, and it just kind of captured these sweet moments. So the hospital is really nice. It's almost like euphoria. You know, you just had your baby, and it's just the calm before the storm of going home. When you're in the hospital, you have all these nurses just kind of, you know, waiting, doting on you, and, you know, making sure that the baby's taken care of. But once you get home, man, it's just reality hits. You're just exhausted. There's no sleep. It's just constant feeding, pooping, sleeping, crying. But having this camera, it really allowed me to kind of take the moments, capture the moments, and then put it down and go back to being a parent. So this is her first bath using a couple buckets. This is a lady teaching us how to give a bath to a baby. This is our cat, Davy Crockett. He was the only child in our family until Penny came along, so he's just kind of curious. So then we eventually started to go out into the city. New York City's really dirty, and I'm kind of a germaphobe, so it took a little getting used to. Here's a couple nice moments. Most of the pictures I've been taking, so it's nice to have a couple with me in it. While we're on the road, you know, you gotta change the diaper if nature calls. So first 100 days. 100 days is big in the Korean tradition. We call it pegil. I'm not a historian, but it just signifies back in the day, if a baby lives beyond 100 days, it means there's a good chance that they'll survive. A couple of portraits. Finally hanging out with some friends who also had babies around the same time. Here's the famous Banksy in the Upper West Side. Here's where I took my daughter to one of my shoots. Some funny, intimate moments. Going to the beach. Some nice sunlight moments, you know. I also wanted to take some photos with iconic backdrops, just so that when my daughter gets older, she can come back to those spaces and see where she was, where these photos were taken when she was a baby. So, some funny expressions. Also in the city. Some snapshots. It was our first birthday. Here's a nice portrait of my wife and daughter with the nice frame of the car door. And this was at a winery. More self-portraits from the same mirror. Hanging out with some friends. It's a little bit more of a commercial look to it. Just had my camera with me, and we were at this track, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. So, looks a little bit more commercial. Some artistic self-portraits with a curtain. It was a red curtain behind a glass. That's what these are. Some more of the silly sides of my daughter. So this is her favorite doll, Yangi, or Lammy. When we realized this became her favorite doll, we had to get a backup in case we lose this one or in case this one had to go down for cleaning. We ended up getting a backup. And at first, when we switched it out one time when we were trying to wash the original, it was funny. She kind of took it and kissed it, and then she kind of looked at it for a second, and then she's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then she would kind of look at it again. She did notice something was a little bit off, but eventually, she just kind of accepted it. And then one day, I guess both of them, she found the other one. And then she looked at the two and realized something was wrong. There was definitely something off about this new one, this backup one. So this one was put in the wash a lot more and this one was less, but I don't know, they just look different. She now knows that this is not the original. We'll see how long this one lasts. It's getting pretty beat up right now, but that's her favorite doll. Some more life moments. All of these are life moments. This is on top of Mount Washington in New Hampshire. This was upstate New York somewhere. I forget what lake it was. This one, this is one of my favorite photos. Just one of those quiet moments of what it's like raising a kid who doesn't want to brush their teeth. Here's a quarantine moment when lockdowns happened. We walked around. We found this scene here. This was like a normal, kind of outdoor area with this outdoor table and all these chairs. For some reason, during quarantine, people weren't using the chairs, and somebody had just kind of put these chairs in this kind of weird format. All these chairs were just everywhere, kind of piled up. And when we walked up, we found the chairs like this and just kind of looked like art. So it was kind of one of those cool moments of quarantine. Here's another moment that kind of expresses what quarantine was like. Here we are in DC at the National Portrait Gallery and the Capitol before all the craziness went down. This is last year or at some point. Some more life moments at the beach. First time touching sand, so she was kind of curious about that. And then now she loves the sand. This was out at Montauk at the end of Long Island. And this is the parting shot. So yeah, this was a nice book to put together finally. The first photo book that I've ever done. I hope to do some more. This was kind of documenting the first 3 years of my daughter. And there's thousands of pictures that I took, tens of thousands that I took with this camera. And yeah, it's a digital camera. I hope it lasts. I would love to give it to my daughter one day. Probably won't be working that well by that time, but maybe I'll give it to her one day when she's old enough and she can start taking pictures of her own. But yeah, definitely check out Sal Digital. They have great photo books that you can make very easy, very quick. So that's that. Thank you again to Sal Digital for making this book happen. I hope to do some more, but till next time. See ya.